Rev up your engines!
Now, here's one that makes me laugh. GM and Hyundai agree to explore collaboration on vehicles and manufacturing to reduce capital spending. Well, this is what I say. Two kind of failing companies are going to work together. Well, they say they're going to work together. It kind of reminds me of, think of something else, when Fiat bought Chrysler. Two pretty crummy companies, right? Now they've merged. Now there's three of them. Stellantis. So the French got involved in it too, right? So will anything good come of GM and Hyundai working together? Well, here's what it actually is. And I've seen it before, and it's the biggest pile of horse manure I ever saw. The agreement is, and I quote, a non-binding memorandum of understanding. Okay, what the heck is a non-binding memorandum of understanding? It's nothing legal, right? It's non-binding. It's a memorandum of understanding. Hey, we know lawyers were involved in writing this, right? It could mean just about anything. Now, they say they want to share their technology so they don't have to spend double research. You know what they're mainly talking about, of course. They're talking about electric vehicles because they've all blown so much money on stupid electric vehicles that nobody wants to buy. Now they want to cut their corners by saying, oh, well, let's share all our technology about them so we don't have to do as much research because, of course, Hyundai, they've been making electric cars longer than GM, at least in mass. GM's made them, but they didn't sell that many of them, right? Other than their Bolt thing that they have that they don't even make anymore. Now, this non-binding agreement was signed by the Hyundai chair, Chung, and GM, Mary Barra, but it was signed, it doesn't seem to mean much. A non-binding memorandum of understanding. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You'd say, okay, that sounds like a bunch of doublespeak. Hey, you get two crappy companies getting together. It's not like math. You know, a negative times a negative is a positive in math. Well, in this case, it's a negative. Two bad companies get together. I don't see anything good coming. Look at Fiat and Chrysler. Look at that disaster area. Kita says, what is a good, reliable used car you can recommend buying in the $10,000 range? And what should I avoid? Avoid all the crappy cars like Fiats, Chryslers, a lot of GM, a lot of vehicles are made like crap these days. Now, the $10,000 range, unfortunately these days, is a popular range, so they're actually overpriced, generally. A Toyota Corolla, a Toyota Camry, Honda Civic, Honda Accord. Those are excellent vehicles. Some of the Mazdas are good vehicles, right? The problem is the $10,000 range is so popular. Cars that used to go for 4 or 5 are now going for 10, and they're worth 4 or 5. That's the problem. And the problem is in that range these days, you're going to be getting a car that has 100 or 200 something thousand miles on it. Now, if you can find, say, a Toyota Corolla, Camry, Honda Accord, Civic, whatever, that hasn't been wrecked a million times for $10,000, and it's got 130, 40,000 miles. Mechanic like me, have them check it out. It could still be a good car because it's Toyota or Honda. It's going to be a little bit older because you're only paying 10 grand. And actually, the older ones are better made than the newer ones as far as I'm concerned. So that's not a bad idea. But other than those two brands, I'd probably stay away from most of the others because they don't hold up over time. I had a guy just bring me a Honda Civic with 360,000 miles. He bought it with 260, and he hasn't put that much money in it, right? It still goes good. Guy just brought me a Camry with 438,000 miles on it. It's still running like a top. So, you know, you don't overpay, but out of it, cars that really are only worth 4 or 5. All the lots are that way. Used car lots, they'll pay 3, 4 for a used one, and they'll try to sell it for 10 grand. So you got to have a mechanic like me check it out regardless, and he'll give you a good idea of what they're actually worth. Well, I warn you about Hyundais. Well, guess what? The new Hyundai, it's already being recalled because the rear airbags might just blow off whenever they feel like it. They may not have been adequately secured. As you adjust the seats, you could cross the wires, short them out, and then the airbag can either blow off when it's not supposed to, or conversely, not go when you get in an accident. Just what you want. What quality control. Now, if you're worried about you bought one of these things, I advise you not to, but if you did, just get your VIN number, government website, NHTSA.gov, and you put in your VIN number, type it in. I'll tell you if it's recalled, you take it in. Then they inspect the wiring harness, and if it's going to be rubbing, then they got to fix it and move it. Well, you think they got engineers, to design these things correctly. Well, the problem is they want to save money, right? So if we can make them 6 inches shorter, that's going to save us all this money. Then they're too short, and then when you move the seat, it rubs and puts holes in them. So, yes, not a fan of Hyundais. Now, I can't help but laugh. I read a lot of these green articles that green people write. This particular one was called Clean Technica. And here's the headline. EV battery news just keeps getting better and better, right? I mean, listen to this stuff. Here's how it starts. Some headline writers continue to write off 100% battery electric vehicles as a passing fad, overwhelmed by a flood of hybrids and insatiable thirst for liquid fuel. That's just plain silly, of course. Well, the woman who wrote the article, what does she know about any of this stuff? It's become a belief with these people, right? Battery electric cars, they're stupid. If we had tiny little ones, yeah, because batteries work great in smaller vehicles. They weigh less. And then, of course, I've talked to many engineers, and the ones that I talk to, they say, Scotty, we're scared of those electric cars. There's so much energy density in those batteries, fires, explosions, whatever. And these guys are engineers. They know what they're talking about, right? But, of course, the greenies, oh, yes, it's plain silly to say that isn't the future. It isn't the future. Tesla's big semi-electric truck, right? The thing is a joke. It can't go that far. That one burnt down on a highway in California not too long ago. There's only a handful of them out, and they can't go that far, carry that much weight. Battery electric vehicles don't work, right? If they worked, guess what? They'd have them in trains. Now, what do trains have? Trains are electric. All those diesel trains you've seen are actually electric trains. They got a big diesel motor, runs generators. The wheels are motors, electric motors, and they run on electricity. If you live in an area where there's commuting trains like that, you'll see when you get to the city, they got electric wires on the top, and they're running off that grid. They don't use batteries, people. Battery electric vehicles are just plain stupid. Well, be careful what you ask for, because there'd probably be a stinking pile of horse manure. One of these never-ending cruises, where you can live on the ship forever. It's still grounded, and guests now have to cover their own expenses because it's not taken off to sea. Now, the V Odyssey is the latest one of these ships that were residential cruises at sea, where you can buy or rent for the rest of your life, or whatever segment you want, each 3.5-year leg of these ships sailing around. Now, unlike a bunch of these other ones that never even got very far, this has an actual ship. It's a refurbished ship that was built in 1993, so it's an old ship for ships. Now, this V Residence is a relatively new company that was founded by Mikhail Pedersen after his departure from Life at Sea Cruises, which went bust earlier this year and went bankrupt, right? So he jumped onto another one. Hey, sounds like a flim-flam man to me. I don't know. Now, in March 2024, this new company got the 1993 Fred Olsen ship Braemar, which they brought into London to fix up. Then they found out it needed more work than they thought. Whoa, what a surprise, right? Now it's in Belfast, Ireland. Interesting enough, that's where the Titanic was built. And it's still there, and they're trying to fix it up, right? These old ships, I've been in some. I was in one in Houston. They got some old wreck of a Hulk that used to do the Mediterranean, and then they brought it into Houston for a gambling ship, because once you get so far from Houston, the ocean, you're in international waters, and you could legally gamble, which you couldn't do on land in Houston, right? And that thing, it's so funny. I did a TV shoot there once, and I was on CBS, right? And my camera woman, Michelle, she says, look at that, it's got a giant dent outside of this huge dent. Obviously, it hits the side. They painted it over with like spray paint or something. It looks horrible, yeah. It was an old hulk of a ship. And then one time they went out and the motor broke, and they had to tow it back in. Now these people were waiting to sail on a ship, right? But it's taking too long. So the company says, well, we've already spent $500,000 on accommodation, food, and entertainment. So the guests who have been in Belfast since May, and now they're saying, you got to pay for your own living until we get this boat going. Well, it's not going yet. The previous one this guy was involved in went bankrupt, so none of this stuff would surprise me. These people that think they can fix up old ships. Look at that. That old Staten Island ferry that the guy said in that live bought. He's losing his shirt on that one. My advice is don't buy a used ship. Now, buying used cars, you can save a lot of money if you do it right, but buying a used ship, that's usually a big mistake. And putting down money to say you're going to live on it for a lifetime sailing around, that's probably even a bigger mistake. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.